I am Greg James, and here we're going to talk a little bit today about bolt-up versus weld-up. What's the difference? I'm going to just kind of go over some pros and cons, so stay tuned. So you're thinking about building a metal building. That's awesome. You can save a little bit of money, on average about 10-15%. Sometimes more, depending on how much of the project you do, how much you don't do. There's a lot of variables in building any kind of house. So whether it's a metal building, stick frame, doesn't matter. There's a whole lot of moving parts. And so the biggest part of that is labor. And that's what I want to talk to you today when we talk about bolt-up versus weld-up. So kind of what are the differences? We'll just go over basically, kind of give you some general ideas so that at least get you started. You can still do your own research, but this will give you a little bit of a help. Okay, I hope so. So let's start with bolt-up. Most common types of buildings are some sort of bolt-up pre-engineered metal buildings. So what is that? Well, it's you're going to go to a metal building manufacturer. They're going to, according to specifications that you send them, the size of the building, they're going to literally fabricate that in the shop. Okay. So everything, when it ships to the field, is pre-cut for the most part and ready to just bolt together. And what are the pros and cons of that? Well, the biggest part is the engineering. Okay, when you have a bolt-up or a pre-engineered metal building, the engineering is included. Okay. Okay, engineering is included as part of the package. The entire building is pre-engineered. Whatever state you live in, they hire the metal building company hires an engineer to design that building as per specifications for the wind loads, for the seismic activity in your area, for snow loads, all that sort of thing. So that is a big deal when you're going to live in it. Okay, it's you got to understand it's different if you're parking your tractor in it. You got a weld up, okay, you're putting equipment in it, but when you're going to live in it, put your family in it, it's something to consider, okay? So if you want that little extra peace of mind, I'd recommend some sort of bolt-up building. That way the entire structure is pre-engineered, okay? Everything's welded and inspected in a factory-controlled environment. Obviously, that's a big deal. Okay, but where are the downsides? Well, cost. Costs are going to run about $30 to $40 a foot, okay? And that's with the foundation on average. It could be a little more, could be a little less, okay? It just totally depends on where your area, how big the building is, all those things. So if you are considering, should I do a weld-up building, should I do a bolt-up? Well, another reason the pre-engineered buildings are a little more expensive is the foundation, okay? Go over that just briefly. Okay, so my eraser's not working so good, that's okay. So on a pre-engineered metal bound foundation, let's say we just have a square slab here, okay? Well, about every 20 feet, let's say we have two main frames about 20 feet apart right here. You have your in-wall system. Let's say your roof is running this way. Your ridge is running like this, the slope. Well, let's see, every 20 feet, you're going to have a main frame system right there, okay? Well, you're going to have large piers under this, each where these sit. Great big piers. And it depends on where you live and your soil conditions, how much foundation you got to put in. So the foundation is quite a bit more substantial for the most part on these buildings, okay? That's it. So you're going to spend a little more cost, but you'll get the peace of mind of it's a pre-engineered metal building. Everything is factory controlled, okay? Shipped to the job as one package. Okay, what's the pros and cons of a weld-up? Well, very common in our area, weld-up buildings. We do a lot of them. In general, from what the engineers tell us, from our local suppliers that we buy our parts from, because on a weld-up, the biggest difference is you're going to hire a welding contractor, okay? And he's literally going to go buy the parts and weld it up piece by piece, okay? So he's going to start with a box, okay? And then about every 10 feet, he's going to put a post. So he'll put a post here, here we go, we got another post, another post. So let's say this building is 40, 50 feet long. Well, the easiest thing for them to do is they put little weld plates right where those posts are. So when they're pouring that foundation, they just literally stick a weld plate in there. It's got 2 pieces of rebar welded on the bottom of it. And then they'll weld their columns about every 10 feet apart, sometimes 8. 10 is most common. So, and the size tubing we use most common is 3 to 4 inch. So sometimes we use a 3-inch tube, sometimes we'll use a 4-inch square tube. That's the most common, okay? Most engineers tell me that the downside of weld-up building is going 2-story. You can always find somebody that will put one up that's 18, 20 feet tall, but I kind of don't recommend it, but that's totally up to you. Most engineers that we talk to don't like to go over about 16 feet with the eave, okay? That's a big deal. Now you can make it work with 16-foot eave, and I'll show you how briefly, and then we'll wrap this up. So let's say you got a building here, here's your roof, and this is a weld-up. And then typical truss design is a lot of times the trusses will be engineered. So an engineer will draw them out on a piece of paper and stamp and seal them, and as long as the welder welds those trusses in that fashion, in that shape and those dimensions, then he'll guarantee it, okay? So usually it's just a standard W pattern like that. It just kind of depends on how wide the building. Most time you don't want to go over about 50 feet wide on a weld-up. You could go high. You could go wider if you do a post. So you may have to have a mid-support post to go more than 50 feet, but you could. Another type truss system you can use is you can use a scissor truss, which a lot of times right now looks more like this. And then they just put these will be anywhere from about 12 to 16 inches deep. And so you have space here you can use, right? So in a situation, let's say you want to go full 2-story, but you don't want to go over about 16 foot on your eave, okay? Well, you can just raise your ceiling up in here, okay? And then out on the outside, you're going to have a little bit of a clipped roof inside the room like that. But you can raise the ceiling up and still get a lot of space, especially the more that you pitch the ceiling up, okay? So a lot of options there. So on your weld-up, normally, and once again, you'll always find, oh yeah, we'll put that up. Well, you know, that's up to you. Once again, you got to put your family in this, so just, you know, don't strictly make a decision based on it's the cheapest thing, okay? So you can do it, but I recommend don't go over about 16 feet on a weld-up, okay? So weld-ups are usually cheaper. On average, we spend about $25 to $30 a foot with the slab. Normally that's Oklahoma, Texas, Midwest. So, and of course that's going to vary depending on where you live, your labor, okay? So anyway, those are the basic differences. Your weld-ups are great. They're going to be cheaper to put up. There's less foundation work involved. They do take a little longer to put up. Sometimes they could take up to a week, couple of weeks. Usually, bolt-ups usually go up in about a week, unless they have problems or complications. So anyway, both are good. It just depends what your goals are, how big the building is. If it's a really large building, just do a bolt-up building. That way the whole building is engineered, the span, everything for all the wind loads, and especially, my gosh, we live in Oklahoma, the wind blows like crazy here. And so, or you may live in an area where you have a lot of snow, okay, and you have really high snow loads on that roof, and so all that's going to be taken care of. You don't have to worry about it. So anyway, that's my recommendation. Stay tuned. Next time we're going to talk about pole barns. What are the advantages of pole barns? There's a lot of advantages of pole barn. What are they? Hey, thanks for watching this video about bolt-up versus weld-up. I hope it was helpful. There's pros and cons to both. Feel free to give us a call. Visit our website at www.gregjamesdesigns.com, and we'd love to help you. Give us a call and we could talk about your project and how we can help you. Thank you.